Right, hello again. Time for another video. Should be noted, I will not be making a video tomorrow because I am leaving my dorm tomorrow to head to my dad's place, so no video tomorrow. Sorry about that. But today, it's a random video, but screw it. We're going to talk about power imbalance in relationships, specifically how you should approach it. Now, this isn't romantic exclusively, but romantic relationships will apply. We're going to talk about romantic, work, paternal, so parents, specifically. Although paternal is specifically fathers, I'll use it for both for the sake of ease. And just platonic relationships like with family. And not family, friends. Freak, I'm getting everything mixed up today. Fun times. But the biggest thing just is acknowledging a power imbalance right off the bat. Because let's face it, you're never going to have exact equal terms with someone. There's never going to be a point where you are as powerful or influential as the person you are dealing with. Some people are going to have more power because they have more friends, some because they have more money, experience, whatever. Some power imbalance is almost inevitable, if not completely inevitable, in life. But with severe power imbalances, you do have to consider that for a relationship. Because, well, guess what? Relationships are built on specific achievements and cooperation. Even when you're working with someone, you're still necessarily working to achieve something, to have a shared goal. And that power imbalance plays a role in how things go down, how you do things. So let's start with platonic, for example. Let's take a look at friends because they are the ones that you're gonna, meet occasionally, talk with. You're not guaranteed to be constantly associating with friends. Because, people have looser relationships with friends than, say, they would a romantic partner or their parents, unless you have a really bad relationship with your parents. And work is, of course, work-related, so when you're assigned something that has a power imbalance, naturally, that's going to take up quite a bit of your time in your job. So, if someone is at a superior position to you in a platonic relationship in terms of power, the biggest thing is just not centering your relationship around it. Because with a friendship, it's a bit looser than other types of relationships. Because you're friends. You hang out, you talk, you work together on occasion. But you're not in a relationship where the goal is, say, getting married, getting a job done, or cooperating with your parents. It's far looser, so you can more easily just basically push the power to the side. But you shouldn't exploit that power imbalance either. For example, if you're the designated driver when you and your friends go out, you shouldn't use it to gain an advantage on others. The biggest thing is just put the power to the side. Because what you're doing in a friendship is not about power. It's not about being able to have money, influence, friends, connections, whatever. The point of a friendship is to enjoy people's company, Share your experiences with people, enjoy being around them, get along with them as people. That's what it's about. Now, you may do other things, you may work together on occasion, you may help each other out when needed, but that just furthers the goal. It's not the main thing. And so, when it comes to platonic relationships, the power is secondary, and it must be treated as such. You can't just have a situation where you use your power to basically bully your friends into doing what you want, because then it's not really a friendship. It's an abusive relationship that just happens to be done by people you're not dating. Now let's move on to parental relationships, or paternal ones as I've written them down. With parents, there is an inherent power imbalance because they are, the caretakers, the ones who provide for their children. As a parent, care is your job, expressly. Your job is to take care of the child. Even if they're annoying sometimes, still your job. And it is the child's job to learn from the parent. To watch what mom does, dad does, whoever the guardian is, and to say, that's a good thing, I should do it. Or, oop, mom's doing something stupid, don't want to copy that. And yes, to the parents watching, that is something that we must learn from you. Not to do the stupid things you do. The phrase is, do as I say, not as I do, for a reason. And with this care naturally becomes the responsibility of enforcement. Yes, sometimes punishment is needed. Quite a lot of times if the child is acting very poorly. And so you must be willing to discipline your child. You cannot be gentle when the child necessarily wishes to expand what they can do. Because think about it, for a child, they're trying to find the limits of everything. What can I do? What can I not do? There's a reason children start teething and biting at things, trying to figure out what they're made of. They're testing things, trying to figure out what things taste like, how they are, so on and so forth. And once they're older, now they're no longer testing objects, they're testing limits. Not only your blood pressure, though they do that, but also how much can I get away with? Can I steal this from my parents? Can I move this to that? Can I eat the cookies from the cookie jar? What can I get away with and not get punished for? Trying to figure out what they can do. And so the parent needs to put them in their place very clearly. They shouldn't be completely domineering and hurt them for every little thing, but punishment is needed. You need to have boundaries and to establish them clearly. You are a parent, not the friend. They can make plenty of friends, enjoy their company, but when you get them home and they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing, they need to be punished. They could be minor for a minor problem, but you do have to escalate based on what the child does. And for the child, not only should they learn from their mistakes, but also respect the authority of the parent. If the parent is doing their job right, and they're not overly punishing you or letting you get away with whatever you want, then that is something that should carry respect. Because the parent is demonstrating that they actually do care for the child. They're not letting the child do something stupid and dangerous that will otherwise hurt them, or just becoming the thing that will hurt them. If the parent straddles that line and enforces right while still caring for them emotionally with the carrot and stick approach, then respect is earned. No one is entitled to respect, but they can earn it by doing their job and doing things appropriately. And the key in a parental relationship like this is that since the power balance is guaranteed and inevitable, both sides must recognize the power imbalance and adapt accordingly. Can a parent crush their child? Yes, 100%. My mom and dad could have whooped me time and time again. But they didn't do it time and time again. They only hurt me when I did something really freaking stupid and hurtful to others. That is the thing. The parent must restrain themselves from hurting the child unless absolutely necessary, and the child must recognize, okay, my parents do care, and I'm going to behave in a way that is best for me so that I can grow up and eventually assume a more equal status. Now, it's not going to be completely equal, but still a higher status than a toddler versus their parents. Because that is the point of growing up, becoming more independent, learning what to do, what not to do, and being able to hold your own even without your parents there. With a work relationship, it really depends. For a leader, it should be fairly obvious. The leader does their role, specifically plan without thinking of an individual. Think of the group as a whole. If you're the leader in a project, the project needs to get done. Plan by looking at all the people you have and thinking, how can this contribute to the greater whole in a way that is most efficient? that gets our job done the best with as little time spent as is necessary to achieve the quality we want. So essentially, do not plan like you're one of the people. Plan like you're looking up from the entire thing and figuring out what needs to go where. But then after that, when it comes to actually get the project done, act as though you are part of the group. The planning isn't the end for the leader. They still must do their work and actually contribute to the project. Because, well, you're a leader, you lead. You plan with efficiency and you act with impunity to ensure that everyone here can know their role and simultaneously also recognize your leadership. Again, with a leader of a project and those under them, there's an inherent power imbalance that's just natural to the entire situation, similar to parents. Except parents because of birth, one's because of their role in the workplace. But the same principle applies. One needs to do their job. A officer in charge of a group cannot just say, all right, I'm going to be the friend of everyone under me. No. Your job as a leader is to plan for what they need to do and get done, and then act upon it to get it done. That is your role. And as an underling, your job is to look at the plans. If you can make a critique, share it, sure. And then they can address it, or if it's not truly a concern of any worth, they can ignore it. And then figure out how to do your part. What is your assigned role? How do you do it? And then get it done. Everyone has their part to play in the plan at a workplace. To get a project done, to finish an assignment, so on and so forth. When you are co-workers, however, things are a bit different, since there's no inherent hierarchy built into the relationship. Here it's a mix of the platonic and the leadership. There's still being professional. That's just a natural thing of being in a workplace. If you're outside of the workplace, sure, go ahead, act how you want. Being honest, I've probably seen more inappropriate behavior from an ex-veteran, so not ex-veteran, ex-soldier, now veteran, than I have from people just in an office. But still, professionalism should be noted. But also, be willing to help others. Be willing to lower yourself to help the other person. Why? Because that's how you build a long-term, stable, cooperative relationship. If I'm not willing to help you, you are not likely to be willing to help me. So I need to be willing to help you, and you me. Because if this isn't reciprocal, then the entire cooperation that we have as co-workers to achieve our shared goals of, getting our work done and doing it well enough that we get paid and maybe even get a bonus, well then, that's not going to go through that well, is it? And that's how you should think of it. Sure, your coworker may be imbalanced. Maybe he's one or two rungs above you, but he's not assigned overall leader. Not every group is structured like the military with very clear ranks and roles. Even with the military, there's some flexibility based on, say, someone going down, who fills in the role, stuff like that. When it's more flat like this, and it's just two coworkers with a slight difference in rank, then essentially you must be willing to lower yourself and help them, or raise yourself up to the status to be able to contribute to the other person, all while maintaining professionalism and showing that, you care and can help them to maintain that relationship and cooperation to ensure the job gets done. Now on to the romantic ones. Here it's complicated. Welcome to relationships. If I could contribute more than that, I would, but women don't like me. Don't blame them. But they don't, so I can't speak from experience here, more from abstract theory. Now, when it comes to romance, naturally, people are going to be different. Different powers, different influence, so on and so forth. So you may find yourself in a position with someone who's richer, more popular, stronger, etc. In such a relationship, the biggest thing to remember is essentially you are cooperating. That is the entire point of a romantic relationship. You try to make one family and learn about each other, especially in dating, so that that one family can be as efficient as possible once it's finally fulfilled and marriage occurs. Yes, you date to marry. Any other reason is freaking stupid. Legitimately, I do not understand a person who would not, because it is so wildly impractical. You are going to spend your life with this person, even if it's only a part of your life. Why waste it on something that's not going to last and will not contribute positively to your life? But if you're in the lower position, like over here, your goal should not be to essentially force this person to contribute all their wealth to you. No. All that power they have is still theirs, technically. But your goal should not be to take it from them. Instead, you should look at it as, okay, we have this, so I want to contribute to them, hoping that they contribute to me. And they should contribute. That is the basic aspect of a romantic relationship in the long term. Mutual contribution, filling each other's roles. Now, a modern relationship tends to emphasize equality. As stated, I don't believe in equality, so I cannot fully support that. But the principle of give and take, fill in the role where you can, is still there. It could be more standard, like the nuclear family, or some modified version that you use yourself for your relationships. But the basic principle is that, fundamentally, if you are in a relationship, you should be helping each other, cooperating. And in the case of a person who has a power imbalance, they should be humble, lower themselves to the other person, and contribute to their life. That is what they should do. While the lesser person raises themselves to a point where they can help the person on their level. Essentially, both should be trying to match each other so that when they contribute, it leads to equal benefits for everyone. Or, more accurately, it leads to both getting something out of it. Because yes, relationships are based on give and take. People get stuff out of them. That's how they work. And with this comes a natural part where personality plays a role. Because sure, with these, personality is there, but it's not as important because, again, these are professional. This is learning how to be a person and exist. And this is just hanging out, so you don't need to care as much about personality. Sure, it's useful and it helps in these situations, but that's not as important. With this, you're literally being with someone with hopes that you can eventually commit your life to them. And so personality plays a big role. And importantly, the person who is lesser in terms of power, like just general power, not lesser as in less of a person, needs to be confident or able to stand with equivalence, or at least try to stand with equivalence, to the other person. Because if they are unwilling to, you're just going to get a person who has an inferiority complex, and that's not something you want in a relationship. Vice versa, the person who is powerful should not want to assert themselves as greater than the other. They should want to lower themselves to the other. Think of it with the idea of a knight and the princess. I know, outdated, but freak, it works, and so it shall be used. The knight is more powerful than the princess in terms of physical strength. That's why they saved him from the dragon. But notice, the knight lowers themselves to the princess in stories. They basically show themselves to be chivalrous and loyal. And in return, the princess vows her love. And so both cooperate and serve the other. One by lowering themselves to another, the other by serving their partner in whatever way they can. If you have a person who is just basically going and bowing to you despite being weaker in terms of power, that's not really helping the relationship. It's just a person with an inferiority complex trying to basically say, well, I'm nothing, so I could at least contribute something I have to them. And you have someone egotistical with more power and strength and wealth. Oh, guess what? That tends to result in abusive relationships because someone who wants more control and has all those things can basically just say, yeah, no, you do what I say because I have this, this, and this, and you need that. Which is not the basis for a good relationship. Control must necessarily be given up by both parties to the other to demonstrate trust. If you cannot willingly give up something, then there's a problem. And if both aren't, well then, there's going to be bigger issues. Because you must be willing to give up some part of your life to this person. If you cannot, well, there's no relationship really. Especially romantic, which is what we're talking about. But again, it relies on this idea of even if you are more powerful, even if you have more wealth, fame, strength, anything else, you must be willing to serve another, bow to them, and treat them as, if not an equal, at least someone on the same general level. And vice versa, with you not seeing yourself as beneath the person, but as someone to stand alongside the person and contribute in whatever way you can. That is the crux. It is working together through some method of either distribution or cooperation. So long as that is achieved, a romantic relationship can work. If it instead has someone asking for more and more control while giving up nothing, or for a person to instead back away from the other person and not trust them with anything, well then, there is no functional way that can be maintained, and so the relationship would fall apart. And the key thing with power imbalance, as we move on from that, is essentially, it must always be acknowledged in some way, shape, or form. Why? Because fundamentally, power plays a role in relationships. It may not like it, but it does. If you're friends with a billionaire and you don't have that much money, then you could easily view yourself, understandably, as just a person that can be interchanged with any pauper off the street or any person off the street. And if the billionaire does not recognize it, then that creates an issue because, let's face it, constantly treating a person as they would normally while ignoring the fact that they could quite literally buy out the entire person's net worth is not something that's going to end well. So they have to acknowledge it. Oh yeah, I am 100% richer than this person and could buy out their family without second thoughts, and put it to the side or react accordingly and say, hey, don't worry, I care about you for this, this, and this reason. The money has nothing to do with it. Don't worry. Again, parents, you can't just pretend like you're equal to your kids. You are not. You're in a superior position which comes with responsibilities of care and enforcement. And the child likewise has their own position to learn from the parent, and if the parent does the job well, to respect them. For work, again, there is a clear difference. A boss has a job to do. If they do it, people should follow. And the reason they follow must necessarily be because the boss not only thinks about the best way to do things, but is willing to help get them done. And when you're helping another person in the same workplace, even if they're not your boss, you must still acknowledge, oh right, he is my superior, or could tattle to HR if he doesn't like me. But I can still help him, he can still help me. Let's work together to better ourselves. And with a romantic relationship, again, gotta be upfront. If you have different powers in terms of wealth, fame, whatever, could be anything really. If you have a power imbalance, you have to acknowledge it because, well, it can lead to feelings of inferiority, insecurity, and abuse if taken too far. After all, if you're reliant on a person's money because they're the one making all the money in the house, and that person suddenly says, you know what, I'm going to use that to control you, well, then that creates issues. You need to acknowledge it and then adjust your behavior. A parent should not treat their child like they would their friends. A boss should not treat their employees like they treat members of the company board. And a person should not treat a friend like some hobo off the street. You must adapt to the situation. Say, hey, I have this, you have that, but we want to maintain this relationship. Tell me, how do we do that? And then you find ways to cooperate, because that is what a relationship is about. Making connections and working with people. Could be as friends, could be as parents and children, could be as co-workers, could even be as eventual spouses, should things go that far. But fundamentally, you have to adjust your behavior according to power imbalance and the relationship at hand. You need to treat people based on what your relationship to them is. Your boss is your boss. Your mom and your dad are your mom and your dad. Your partner is your partner. Girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Your friend's your friend. And you should treat them accordingly. And if they betray you, I'll just say it bluntly, ditch them. It doesn't matter if they're your parent, your friend, your boss, your spouse. If a person betrays you, no. But use what power you have to contribute to your relationships while acknowledging, yeah, things aren't equal. They are never equal. But still, I can fill a role. Whether I be the one in the superior position or the inferior one, I can help the person I am cooperating with. I can help my friend, my child, my coworker, my boss, or my partner. Acknowledge, adjust, and base it off of the relationship that you have with the person. That is the key to dealing with power imbalance in relationships. Have a good one.